Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another book review, and this is going to be for The Deerslayer by James Fenimore Cooper. So this is The Deerslayer is the first book chronologically, but also the last book written in the Leatherstocking Tales. This series is most well known for The Last of the Mohicans. So let's get into this. The Deerslayer is the first book in the chronological order for the Leatherstocking Tales, but was the last book in the series written by James Fenimore Cooper. Okay, so I already wrote that down. Anyways, this is the, again, I already mentioned this, but the most well-known book in the series is The Last of the Mohicans, but The Deerslayer tells the story of what happened before that. It introduces us to a younger Nathaniel Bumppo and tells a fairly small and self-contained story. Before I get into the rest of this review, though, I'd just quickly like to say that if you're liking what you're seeing from an Erudite adventure, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, so this story is about Nathaniel as he and Chingachgook attempt to rescue Chingachgook's betrothed, essentially. They end up at a lake, and the whole book takes place around this lake, pretty much. They travel away from it for a bit at some points, but for the most part it's either specifically on the lake or around the lake. There's a family that lives on the lake, and this book tells the story of the characters as of Nathaniel or Deerslayer, and this family as they interact with the family and with the Indians that are, the American Indians that are around the lake that have kidnapped Chingachgook's betrothed, which I can't remember what her name is off the top of my head, so we're just gonna have to go with that. And then when fighting breaks out, this story tells about how they deal with it, how they deal with the fight with the Indians, with the mercenaries, with this family, all that kind of stuff. This book has quite a lot of romance elements to it, but I didn't feel like it was ever overdone, and it isn't really the focus of this story. It's definitely there and it's part of this tale, but it's not the main focus of the story. It's not the end of the story. It's just kind of discussed, a part of the story that is discussed and is important to the story, but not the primary subject. Part of what made me love this book, though, was the way that you're drawn into the setting. Cooper is known for being a very flowery and descriptive writer. People talk about how he has pages about a leaf falling to the ground. I often really enjoy this type of writing, the very flowery, very descriptive writing, and for this story it worked really well in my opinion. I like that description where you are just so immersed in the story that you know every detail of the landscape as much. I can envision this lake and the landscape around this lake very, very clearly, partly because it's a real location. You can go find this lake and see what James Fenimore Cooper was writing about because he wrote it based off of a real place. But the description allows you to envision this lake in northern New York. I think it's northern New York. And this tale around it, obviously, it's a different time, it's a different time period, a different setting than we are used to. And so if we went to this location in our modern time, it would look very different than it did at the time that this story took place. It felt like, while I was reading it, that I was actually on the lake with the characters. I was in the environment and participating in the story just as much as the characters were. Some of the characters don't seem to have the most depth to them, just because of the way that they're written, but I found that as I went through the story, there were things about them that started to come out in their actions, in their manner of speaking, in the way that they responded to certain events or whatever, that really showed their true personalities. I can't really say that they were super well defined, but there were inferences that told me more about the characters than the actual descriptions and opinions did. So there's two sisters, and one of the sisters is smart, is pretty, is all those things, and the other sister is the more slow sister and the more plain sister, and that's kind of what is said about her the whole time. But as you are reading the story, you come to the realization that that's not all that this character is. And on a surface level reading of the book, you could definitely say that, oh yeah, she's a slow character, she's a slow sister who's not as smart, not as bright, whatever you want to say. But if you actually look into her actions and her reactions, you find that that's not entirely true. While this is not my favorite book of the year, currently my favorite 3 books of the year are going to be pretty hard to beat. But I did find this to be a super enjoyable book, and I'm very glad to have read it. I'm excited to actually be able to read The Last of the Mohicans now. Hopefully I can get to that before the end of the year. I don't know that I will at this point. I might not get to Last of the Mohicans before the end of the year. But I was planning on reading The Last of the Mohicans, and then I realized, oh wait, Deerslayer is the first book in the series. I should probably read that one first, just because. And I know Last of the Mohicans was the first one written, and so you can read it, and it's just fine that way. But I decided I don't want to. I decided I wanted to start with the Deerslayer and then move on to The Last of the Mohicans and the rest of the books in the Leatherstocking Tales. Oh, I didn't mention what this books fit into. This is a historical fiction. This is also a story of kind of colonial America. It's not really colonial, but it's also not American West or Western or anything like that. It's kind of in that, what year does it say? I don't remember what year it takes place in. Yeah, I don't remember when the book takes place. I did look it up at one point and I forgot to write it down. So yeah, that is my thoughts and review on The Deerslayer by James Fenimore Cooper. It's been several months now since I read this, so I've probably forgotten some of my thoughts on it, which is just the way that it's going to be until I can get caught up on reviews, and I am trying to do that. So thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and have our social medias linked in the description down below. We'll see you guys again soon. Stay warm.